Well, hello, America. It's nice to see you. You know, I actually think you've gotten a little better looking since last time I saw you. Welcome back to Fast Politics. I'm Christopher McFarland, your host, and it's exciting to be with you. You know, my job occasionally requires a bit of travel, so I apologize that you have not seen me more frequently, but I'm glad to be here with you tonight. We've got a really exciting, fun, jam-packed episode, lots of topics to discuss. It's been several weeks since we did our last episode, and it's kind of unbelievable how much the world has changed, at least in the world of politics. So stay tuned for some really fun interviews. We're going to be talking to Danielle Flanagan, correspondent. We're talking to Tony Patton, our fun top news correspondent. We're also going to have one of our favorite folks on the show, Matthew Schneider, will be returning for a conservative point of view in light of last week's recent events. But before we start the show, I'm going to give some common ground elements that have come up in the news recently. And after that, you're going to get a rare treat. In tradition, like we did several weeks ago, we're going to start the episode, as I hope we do for all future episodes, with a musical rant. But before we do that, let me just share my common ground elements for this week. I'm very excited. Unlike previous weeks where sometimes I had to search the internet, I had to scour for folks that were sharing our point of view. It was quite easy, and I had to pick and choose. This week, I'm going to choose New York Rep. Richard Hanna. He will be supporting Hillary Clinton. He's a Republican, by the way, because Trump is deeply flawed in endless ways. Also, I have to say I'm really excited about Donald Trump because he's unable to endorse Paul Ryan and John McCain. It's kind of amazing. It's almost as if he's working for us to destroy the other team. I have no other explanation. Actually, I do have an explanation. We'll talk about that later. But what's spectacularly insulting is that they've risked their political capital to support him, and he doesn't care. It's really spectacular. Really well done. So, what we're going to jump to now is choir practice. I'm really excited about this. For your viewing pleasure, we have created a musical rant. By the way, let me just interject. I know that Donald Trump really loved musical choir. I heard it was because of all the vocal warm-ups he did, which sounded much like this. Me, 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 me. Okay, I know. I'm not a comedian. All right. Musical rant. High on a hill was a lonely goat turd.
Tiny hands, woo.
Cheeto-colored skin, a wide mouth blowhard.
Tiny hands, woo.
Spoiled brat, racist rat, leader of the birthers.
Tiny hands, woo.
Here he comes, Satan packed, now he gets further.
Tiny hands, woo.
But then from the hills comes a hero mother.
Pantsuit, woo.
On November 8th, all the town folks sang her.
Pantsuit, woo.
Love Trump's hate, and the world all joined her.
Pantsuit, woo.
Bill was the first gentleman baller.
Intern, secretaries, red balloons, woo.
The world breathed a sigh, and we all sang together. The hills are alive with the sound of Hillary. Thus concludes this evening's musical rant portion of tonight's episode. All right, folks. There I am. All right, listen. I hope you enjoyed that. I put a few seconds of effort into it, and I love singing, even if I'm a little out of tune. All right, let's talk about the fast sheet tonight. We've got a lot of topics to cover and not a lot of time. So first of all, I put this graphic up here, the week in review. It's we got to talk about the GOP. The RNC was an unmitigated disaster. It's the first time in history that a convention caused an actual drop in support of the candidate. Now, Hillary experienced a 4 or 5 point bump, depending on which poll you look at. But the GOP, Donald Trump, this is literally unprecedented in American history. He actually lost 15 points of support. Literally shocking. I would say I'm excited about it, but as we'll talk about later in the show, I think there's some negative aspects to that for our democracy. Melania Trump, I can't believe this. Melania Trump, somehow that story has faded from the zeitgeist because in light of so many other things. But Melania Trump plagiarized Michelle Obama. She literally plagiarized the president's wife in her speech several years ago. I mean, again, if I wasn't confident that I hadn't written this as a farcical episode of Tonight's Show, I would not believe that she would make such a gaffe and blunder. We also talk about Donald gave the most apocalyptic vision of America I think we've ever heard from a presidential nominee. It was also historically long. I think it ran at about 74 minutes, one of the longest presidential nominee acceptance speeches we've ever heard. But it was literally the darkest, most corrosive cancer future vision of America I've ever heard. And I don't think that that's a winning platform for any presidential nominee, Republican or Democrat. So again, is Donald working for us? I'd like to think so. Hard to believe he's that smart. Okay, RNC staffers are rumored to be suicidal. This came out in the AP today. Manafort is rumored to be mailing in his efforts in support of Trump. Trump won't endorse Paul Ryan, and I believe it's because of this. The language that he used about Paul Ryan was, "I'm not there yet." And what you have to understand about Donald Trump is he's a score settler. This guy, Donald Trump, this nominee, this is why everyone talks about him being so mentally and emotionally and psychologically unfit for the office, because he literally will go after people and hurl their words in their faces. And that's exactly what he's doing with Paul Ryan, because that's exactly what Paul Ryan said for so many months leading up to Trump actually clinching the nomination. And again, it's just shocking to me that he doesn't understand how much political capital Paul Ryan leveraged in order to support him. In other words, it's going to cost Paul Ryan for sure with his voters that he supported Donald Trump. Same thing with all the other folks that have gotten behind him. Now, supposedly, an intervention with Trump is scheduled imminently by GOP leadership, including Reince Priebus, Newt Gingrich, and potentially members of his own family. I cannot confirm that that's 100% true. I tried to verify those sources, but that is what we're hearing on the AP. Now, on the DNC side, we're going to switch to a different graphic for that. I have a graphic up here for Mr. Khan and his amazing speech. There were spectacular speeches at the DNC. If you have time, if you haven't seen them, simply Google. Michelle Obama's speech I thought was amazing. It was one of the first of the week. It really set the tone. We also had Joe Biden's speech, Barack's speech, and Elizabeth Warren's speech. There were literally dozens, but it was such an uplifting. It was the most encouraging political week-long convention I think I've ever witnessed in my lifetime. Bernie Sanders gave a curmudgeon-y sort of support of Hillary, but he did give it, and he's gotten behind his followers, asking them to get on board the Hillary train. And but that gold star rebuke from Mr. Khan is really, really the most spectacular moment. I don't think we've ever seen something like that in American politics. A gold star family. You know, we often see political families used as proxies, right? Both sides used it. It's kind of frustrating sometimes because I wish neither side would use the military. But if one side uses it, then the other does, and you sort of have no choice. So Mr. Khan's rebuke of Donald Trump, and sort of you see him holding up the Constitution there because he's really challenging Donald Trump to actually read it. It was one of the most profound, emotionally moving moments I think I've ever had in American politics. Now, Hillary, as of today's polling, as of the Fox News poll that came out today, is officially 10 points ahead of Donald Trump. That lead, I don't know if it'll hold, but it really is spectacular at this point in the election race. Now, there's an unprecedented number of Republicans now actively opposing Trump. Mitt Romney, almost every member of the Bush family, including Barbara, who questioned 6 months ago how any woman could possibly vote for Trump. Famous GOP member and CEO Meg Whitman is also now endorsing Hillary Clinton, issuing a scathing review of America's future under his potential leadership. Henry Paulson, former Treasury Secretary, Richard Armitage, former Deputy Secretary of the State. These are all GOP members. Brent Scowcroft, advisor to three GOP presidents. All of them are now standing behind Hillary Clinton. Trump surrogates keep saying this is a media-created issue, even while Republicans keep coming out of the woodwork in opposition to Trump. So that's your fast sheet. Really a spectacular couple of weeks in the news. I don't know how that got in there. That picture of Hillary, it's just, I don't know. I guess it was just the first thing I saw online. Okay, so next joining us is going to be our correspondent, Tony Patton. He's been on the show before. You know, he was actually referred to me by Matt Schneider, our co-host occasionally on Fast Politics, and so per his recommendation, I've asked Tony to come on the show and give us some super news updates about what's going on in the world, you know, geopolitically, political dynamics around the world. Obviously, America is not the only country in the world to have a lot of stuff going on. So, Tony, why don't you jump off with your first story?
Well, the first story is international news. Virgin Galactic, Richard Branson has gotten approval for his first rocket to launch space tourism in outer space.
Okay. Well, that's So here's a picture of. Well, obviously that's international. Space is definitely sort of transcends the globe. So I like where you were just mentally with how you were. But I was actually thinking more about stories that involved, you know, things on the ground and.
On the ground, and this is kind of to do with global warming. People that deny global warming, this might give them pause. In upstate New York, there have been cases where horse manure is spontaneously combusting because it's so hot over there.
All right. that is definitely some interesting. I was not aware of that information.
Yes.
Is there anything maybe a little bit more, just I don't know, that involves the whole world?
Well, the whole world's in love with Pokemon right now, and it turns out that more millennials can recognize Pikachu than they can Joe Biden. And by the way, who is Joe Biden?
Oh my God. All right, let's go to your next story.
This one's exciting to me. A guy who invented a cat drone, his cat passed away, and he made a drone out of it. Now he intends to invent a cow drone that people can fly around on cows and as a mode of transportation, alternative transportation. We need that here in LA because all the traffic on the freeways.
Wow. Okay. Are we almost done? I don't know if there's. Did you?
In more international news,
okay.
Apparently China has banned Ghostbusters from airing in China.
Oh my God! Wow.
And apparently China doesn't enjoy busting ghosts.
Okay. You know, I'm not one to sort of like poke fun or like, and I definitely am. Let me just say that on Fast Politics, we have a really high bar for information, news. We source a lot of different media reference points. There's a lot of journalistic integrity that sort of underpins the show. So I just want to encourage you, if we're able to, I feel like Matt, in some way, just kind of tried to sabotage. But you know, it's all right. It's good. I appreciate your effort. You obviously put some thought into that, and I'm gonna thank you for your contribution. And I think up next we're actually gonna have Matt. So thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
It's Christopher, but
Chris, yes.
Wow,
that was riveting.
So I have to ask, was that an intention? First of all, a big welcome to Matt Schneider returning to Fast Politics.
Wow, wake up, people! Here I am. Kid, everyone.
I feel like I just have to.
Wait, I've never been on this side of the debate with you.
I know.
This is the right side.
It feels good, doesn't it?
Yes.
To be on the right side of an argument.
Yes.
I feel. Now, did you intentionally? Were you planting?
I thought
were you trying to sabotage?
The chemistry between you two was electric.
Oh my God!
So maybe he'll stick on your show. And
has he actually ever done a news report before? Okay.
Oh, yes. Plenty.
So
Thousands.
Matt, so we've got a lot of things to discuss. I want to ask you first of all. Number one question: Has Trump gone too far? Did he
No.
go too far with Khan?
He doesn't go too far because
tell me why
I
not.
think because everyone, including yourself, who watches television, thinks he went too far because everyone in the media says he goes too far. So then it becomes an echo chamber of, oh, Trump's gone too far because everybody on news in the media wants Hillary Clinton to win. So now there's been an all-out assault on Donald Trump from all sides, and he is taking it under fire because every one of these quote-unquote controversies I could defend as a valid argument.
Fantastic. Let's hear your defense of why it's okay to go after Gold Star families.
First of all, he didn't go after them. He was merely responding to criticism that they launched at him.
I see.
Just the same way as Hillary Clinton responded to the criticism of the Benghazi Gold Star families that went after her. And yet there's no uproar about the fact that she basically called Benghazi mom a liar.
But
What's your response to that?
Didn't we just talk a
and
few
why
weeks
isn't the
ago-
media equally up in arms?
Didn't we just talk a few weeks ago, though, about how the Benghazi families were actually asking the Trump campaign to shut the bleep up over all of their rabblings and
That might be one of the Benghazi family members, but another mother on it spoke at the Republican National Convention.
Well, I mean,
So what about?
they,
What do you mean?
They
How are
found
you-
one.
What do you mean they found one? And so you found one Gold Star
But
family
Hillary,
on your side.
But Hillary
I'm saying
didn't.
it's the same.
But Hillary didn't go after that family the way Donald Trump
Oh my God,
did.
it's exactly the same. I think both of them are wrong, actually, if you want me to be honest. I think both of them wrongly went after the Gold Star families. But for everyone to focus on how Trump went after the Khans and yet ignore the fact that Hillary is calling this Benghazi mom a liar is insane to me. That's just my point of view.
Interesting. It's so fascinating, isn't it, to hear what goes on inside the Republican
In the truth
in
zone.
the Republican mind.
In the truth
I am
zone.
fascinated. Now, if Trump is going to pull down, do you think that Trump is actually going to pull down the rest of the GOP? The reason I ask that question is because they're saying now that 10-point lead that Hillary has over Trump, that's actually the demarcation line. Anything more than a 10-point line, historically, the data shows that then impacts down ticket races. What do you think? Do you think he's going to be
First of all, I think
political Velcro and just kind of suck everyone to him and drag him down?
After the Republican convention, Trump got a bounce, correct? Would you admit that?
He did get a temporary
bounce. And so this is the week after the Democratic convention, so she's getting a temporary bounce. Talk to me in 2 weeks.
Well, he's 15 points down now as a result.
Because she got a bounce. Because
fact-
to her credit, which I'll give you ready, she has
Actually,
plenty of speakers.
I don't think he did get a bounce. I think he
he got a bounce.
No, he actually lost 15 points.
No, now he's lost 15 points because it's after the Democratic convention. Prior to the Democratic convention, right when it was starting,
I don't
he got a
think he
bounce.
did.
He did. You got to check your facts, Chris.
I don't think he did.
Get Tony on the research. He'll send you the research.
Okay, we'll definitely follow up with
But
Tony
I'll say,
on that.
talk to me in 2 weeks. If he's still 10 points down, then you could start sounding some alarm bells.
No, I'm just asking, the question is just agnostic of that, though. Do you think that he would? Because some people
I
think that
think
he
that's
would
overblown.
impact down ticket races. Let's say he was 20 points apart from Hillary in the spread.
I don't think
Would
that,
he
that
impact
argument is
or
so
no?
stupid because that implies that people are so stupid that they're going to be like, people are smart enough to say, you know what, I don't like Trump, but I'll vote Republican on everything else. In fact, some people purposely do that, because they want, if they hate both candidates, they'll vote whoever they're voting for president, they want to vote the opposite party down ticket.
Some
just
people
to
do that.
keep, separation of powers or checks and balances.
But the
That's
theory
word.
is that if Donald Trump turns off so many people, his supporters won't come out for the election.
Wrong.
Okay.
Turn
And
off
then
so many
finally-
people. He's brought more Republican primary voters out to the primary process than any Republican candidate in history.
Do you think okay, quick question. Do you think it's ironic that the leader of the
No.
birther movement is now not releasing his tax returns?
Who's the leader of the birther movement?
Donald Trump.
In what zone of reality do you live in? He
Just-
is not the
just
leader of the birther
media.
movement.
Just the media.
Just
He's
the media.
Yeah, he's led that charge in the
Okay,
media.
you know what? And here, I'm going to blow your mind. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Is your mind ready to be blown?
Ready to be blown.
If Donald Trump is watching, where am I? Here? If Donald Trump is watching, I advise you never to release your taxes.
Really?
Because the second he does, the media will use it as ammunition to fire right back at him, because it's total proof right now that everyone is out to get him.
Even though every other president releases their tax returns.
Don't care. The media has not been as this
So
unfair
he
to
demanded. No one ever demanded a birth certificate, but Barack did it because. Now, so he did that, but now
Because what
Donald
do you
Trump's going to break the rules.
You
and
want me
not.
to tell you what he's hiding from his taxes? I know.
Mitt Romney has a few ideas.
I'll tell tell you the secret is he actually may not be worth as much as he claims because
I think that's definitely
because
obvious.
he attaches so much value to his name Trump that there's so much name,
and his
but
hair
you
and family.
can't put that in a tax return. You know,
Okay.
like it won't be reflected in a tax return. So
He's-
that's the only thing he's hiding.
He's a billionaire.
It's not a big deal.
He's a billionaire in his own mind.
But he's a billionaire. He's successful. The fact that he's definitely not successful.
I'm just curious.
Right.
I haven't. The
So-
Republicans.
So don't worry.
So far, the Republicans have not been able to find, and they've been digging for months, a good business deal that Trump has ever done. Are you aware of any good business deals that
Tons.
he's
How
actually
about The
ever done?
Apprentice? A highly rated
Apart-
show
no,
for
I
10
give him
years.
that. For
That's a deal.
on reality TV, he did a great job.
Done.
But
Perfect.
actually,
Yes,
in
for one,
business,
you got it. You got it.
In business,
You got it.
did he do anything
Yes,
that you're aware
of course. Trump hotels and resorts, golf. Ask anyone who plays golf. All his golf clubs are
Well,
perfectly
didn't all
managed.
those hotels
Especially-
in Atlantic City go bankrupt?
Atlantic
though?
City, you know what? All hotels in Atlantic City went bankrupt, including Caesars, which isn't owned by him.
I see.
So there is actually no hotel in Atlantic City.
And you have no
that is making
problem
money.
with him going bankrupt and not paying his laborers and the people that work
Hey,
for him
that's
or anything?
business, baby.
That's business.
Capitalism at work.
Shortchanging your employees. Okay.
It's not shortchanging. It's by law. If he actually did it, they'd be suing him. The only one is Trump University, which I'll grant you wasn't his finest hour. But if you want to go over non-fine hours, Hillary Clinton has a whole clock worth of unfine hours.
Interesting. Okay. Well, listen, I put this up for you.
Yes, thank
Orange Lives Matter.
do.
I want you to know, we hear you. We hear your thoughts.
All right.
Now
This
we
has
got to
been
switch
thrilling.
on. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
Matt.
for learning a few things from me. I know,
Thanks
but
for joining us.
you.
All right, now joining us once again, Liberal Insights with Daniela Flanagan. Danielle, I'm so happy to have you back on the show. Isn't it nice to have? You're like a palate cleanser. You're like a political palate cleanser.
I'm the mint.
Yes, it's delicious to have you on. I apologize, we're running a little bit short on time. So, as I said at the top of the show, we do have a jam-packed episode. So, we're going to jump right in.
Tony's reports were amazing. And it was good to see Matt back.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was. I love having Matt back on the show. You know, people have been clamoring for more vigorous debate between the two of us, and
Yes.
I wish we'd had a little more time because it's so fascinating just to hear
Yeah.
him doubling down and holding on to those positions. And just so the audience knows, he's not faking it. Matt's not playing a character. He actually genuinely believes those things that he was saying to you and to me. And I think that that's amazing. You know what I mean? Like, not disparaging me in any way. I just think it's amazing that we both look at the same series of
And come away
evidence
with
and come
completely
away with,
different,
it's like that
disparate,
picture on Facebook, like someone saw a white dress, everyone else saw like an orange dress. Like, it's just the
Right.
weirdest thing. So, okay. We've talked about dog whistles before. Trump thought attacking Muslims was okay. That's why I put this graphic up from a
that's
few
a good
weeks ago again.
graphic,
Was this a dramatic miscalculation to attack the Gold Star family? Matt tried to make the comparative example that Hillary did something similar. I think it's pretty clear that the gravitas surrounding it are vastly different, though.
Yeah, I mean, there was a good point because they were very similar issues,
Mm-hmm.
and she did do the same thing that he did. I think the issue that most people are having with the way that Trump approached it
Mm-hmm.
at this point in time, there's been so much media placed on the way that he's talked about Muslims, women,
Right.
the Black Lives Matter movement, and there's so much negativity tied to that they just needed that one spark.
He synergized.
He's synergized
all of
it,
his
yes.
negative stuff. It's weird. Again, it's like he's working for us. He
Yeah.
pulled together all of his negatives
Yeah.
into one crystallized moment.
And I think the other thing, too, is it really just shows what type of leader he is. We've been so spoiled with the way that President Obama is so refined and so sophisticated and
Right.
so articulate, and
Great.
the way that he expresses messages for the general public.
Mm-hmm.
We're not seeing that same level of articulation from from Trump. As a future possible president, that's worrying. That scares people
It's
to
terrifying.
death. It's
Yeah,
terrifying
I-
to know that he's so thin-skinned that after that family said what they did during the convention, the Khan family, that he decided to go on social
On a
media
rant,
on
yeah.
a rant. Dude, back off. Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Hillary had the same issues,
I
but show
actually
some
feel like
class and dignity and leave a Gold Star family
if he
alone.
had backed off and not responded to that, that would have actually tilted. I feel like that would have been a powerful tilting
That
moment
would
in his
have been.
favor.
That would have been.
But
Because
I
it would
think
have shown that he could, for once in this entire time, he learned
Right.
his lesson and kept his big mouth shut.
he's incapable, and I think Matt's even identified on previous episodes that and I think we've talked about it as well. He really is his own worst enemy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, no one will destroy Trump the way Trump is going to destroy and is currently destroying Trump. Okay, next question. Purple Heart. I put this up here. The Purple Heart is awarded to members of the armed forces of the U.S. who are wounded by an instrument of war in the hands of the enemy. I won't read the rest of it, but Donald Trump saying basically that, you know, when one of his followers gave him one, and he said, "Oh, this was easier than I thought." It was another, again, by itself, I don't think that would have had the legs for a story.
Right.
But in concert with the con dynamics and all the attacks on veterans against John McCain, this was powerfully negative. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to, like, I've been a fan of Howard Stern because of he's such a controversy. I love that show. And when Trump was on the show with Howard Stern, he was talking about how with his marriages, it was like he'd been a Vietnam veteran, and he went on and on and on, making comparisons between the Vietnam War and his marriages. And then we get to this point where we've now traveled forward 20 plus years, and we're still seeing this type of rhetoric coming from Trump, and it is disparaging. And as a child of veterans from the World War II, from the Korean conflict, and from Vietnam, and having family members that currently serve right now, yes, that does bother me. It bothers me deeply. My father is a Bronze Star holder. You know, I've got my grandfather served in both World War II and the Korean conflict, and to touch his hand and feel the shrapnel still in his hand, that hit hard. It did it when Hillary did it too. It hit hard because I know why my family served. They served in a country where they had no right to vote. I am the first full member in my entire family to ever be free in the United States. Freedom for African Americans only occurred in 1970, and that was with the Housing Act. And I know that because my family couldn't find housing. It was a woman who was in a concentration camp who gave us her house because she understood what the struggle was like. And she had no questions. In my entire neighborhood were concentration camp victims who had survived and moved to the United States. And we were the first black family for like a 5-mile radius. There was no one else but us. So for me, it all comes together in different pieces and how relevant it is. And it resonates that you have that level of disrespect where you just can't keep your mouth shut. If you're going to say something, think. T-H-I-N-K, think. If it's going to be thought-provoking, helpful, is it going to improve the situation? Is it going to be nice? Is it going to be kind? Think about those things. And I think that's what President Obama deploys when he's speaking, is a level of articulation to speak out and speak in such a way that it elevates the conversation, which is exactly what Flotus said in her speech.
I'm going to go a little off script of what our planned dialogue was to ask you. So I know that you're not a Hillary supporter. Do you, though, if you're not going to vote for Donald Trump and you're not going to vote for Hillary, doesn't that essentially help Donald Trump? For someone like you to not vote against him directly, doesn't that help him?
I think there's a lot of rhetoric around our votes not helping President Trump. And if I had to take some time to kind of step back and look at the numbers, and I've looked back at a couple of elections and saw where third parties, those votes could have helped swing toward another candidate. So now I have to go back, internalize, and say, what am I really able to do here? Am I able to get off my soapbox and my high horse and say, my vote's going to matter toward this party, even though I am completely not in alignment with what she says or stands for, so that we can have the right concepts in office.
So you are thinking about that?
I am spending a lot of time and thought,
Okay, I'm going to, we didn't get a chance, God, we had so many things. I wanted to talk about the monster we've made of Trump, the orange monster, and how can we find unity, but now I've got to put the credits up and thank everyone for joining us on Fast Politics. If it's fast, if it's politics, it is Fast Politics.